Did you know that right now, in your kitchen, there are foods slowly damaging your joints? Foods you might be eating every day without realizing the harm they're causing. It's a shocking truth many Americans over 65 don't discover until the damage is already done. Think about it, you wake up in the morning, your knees ache as you get out of bed, your fingers feel stiff as you reach for your coffee cup, and climbing stairs has become something you dread rather than something you do without thinking. You might blame it on just getting older, but what if I told you that your diet could be the real culprit? The connection between what you eat and how your joints feel isn't something most doctors talk about. They're quick to prescribe medications or suggest surgeries, but rarely do they look at what's on your plate. And that's a serious oversight, because research now shows that certain foods can trigger inflammation, break down cartilage, and actually accelerate joint deterioration, especially after 65 when your body's natural repair systems aren't working as efficiently. In this video, I'm going to reveal the 7 foods that are quietly destroying your joints. These aren't exotic ingredients, they're common foods found in most American kitchens, perhaps even yours. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly which foods to remove from your diet to protect your joints, reduce pain, and maintain your mobility for years to come. Stay with me until the end, because I'll also share 3 joint-friendly alternatives for each problematic food, delicious options that won't just spare your joints but will actually help strengthen them. Plus, I've saved the most surprising food for last, one that nearly everyone believes is healthy but could be the hidden source of your joint pain. Are you ready to discover which foods might be sabotaging your joint health? Let's get started. Food number 1, processed vegetable oils. The first joint destroyer hiding in your kitchen might be something you use every day without thinking twice: processed vegetable oils. I'm talking about soybean oil, corn oil, canola oil, and those vegetable oil blends that come in clear plastic bottles. These oils seem innocent enough. After all, they come from plants, so they must be healthy, right? Unfortunately, the reality is far different. These highly processed oils are packed with omega-6 fatty acids, which in excessive amounts can trigger inflammation throughout your body, and your joints are often the first place you'll feel it. Think about Martha, a 68-year-old retired teacher who loved cooking. For years, she used vegetable oil for everything: frying eggs, making salad dressings, baking cookies. She couldn't understand why, despite staying active, her knees and hips were getting progressively more painful. Her doctor prescribed anti-inflammatory medications, but the relief was always temporary. Then Martha learned about the inflammatory nature of processed oils. She swapped them out for olive oil, and within just 3 weeks, she noticed a significant difference. "It was like someone turned down the volume on my pain," she told me. "I could get up from a chair without that awful grinding sensation in my knees." Here's why these oils are so problematic: when consumed regularly, the high levels of omega-6 fatty acids throw off your body's natural balance between inflammatory and anti-inflammatory compounds. Your body needs some inflammation for healing, but too much becomes destructive, especially to the delicate tissues in your joints. Even worse, these oils are often hydrogenated or partially hydrogenated, creating trans fats that are particularly damaging to joint health. Studies have shown that people who consume high amounts of these processed oils have significantly higher rates of osteoarthritis and report more joint pain than those who don't. Look around your kitchen. Do you have these oils in your pantry? Are you using them daily without realizing the impact they're having on your joints? If so, it's time to make a change. Instead of processed vegetable oils, try 1. Extra virgin olive oil, rich in anti-inflammatory compounds. 2. Avocado oil, stable for cooking and supportive of joint health. 3. Coconut oil, contains medium-chain fatty acids that don't promote inflammation. Making this simple swap could be the first step toward less painful, more mobile joints. Your body has been trying to tell you something with those aches and pains. Now you know one of the culprits that might be causing them. Food number 2, added sugars. The second food silently damaging your joints is probably the most tempting: added sugars. I'm not talking about the natural sugars in fruits or vegetables, but the refined sugars hidden in so many processed foods, from obvious sweets like cookies and cakes to more surprising sources like pasta sauces, breads, and even so-called healthy granola bars. Sugar doesn't just expand your waistline, it actively attacks your joints through a process called glycation. When sugar enters your bloodstream, it attaches to proteins and forms harmful new molecules called advanced glycation end products, or AGEs. These AGEs damage the collagen in your joints, the very substance that keeps them flexible and cushioned. Consider Robert, a 73-year-old who prided himself on staying active. He played golf twice a week and took his dog for daily walks. But over time, he noticed his shoulders and fingers becoming increasingly stiff and painful. What he didn't realize was that his healthy breakfast of store-bought granola with yogurt contained over 20 grams of added sugar, nearly a day's worth in just one meal. When Robert cut back on these hidden sugars, the results were remarkable. Within a month, I could grip my golf club without wincing, he shared. I hadn't realized how much my morning ritual was affecting my joints. The science behind this is clear. Studies show that high sugar consumption increases inflammatory markers in the blood, particularly in older adults whose metabolisms are already changing. This inflammation targets your joints, breaking down cartilage and accelerating the progression of conditions like osteoarthritis. What makes sugar especially dangerous is how addictive it can be. Your brain craves it, making it one of the hardest dietary changes to maintain. But if you're over 65 and serious about protecting your joints, reducing sugar is non-negotiable. Start by reading labels, you'll be shocked at where sugar hides. Instead of sugar-laden foods, try these alternatives. 1. Fresh berries with plain Greek yogurt, add cinnamon for natural sweetness. 2. Nuts and seeds for snacking instead of cookies or candy. 3. Herbal teas with a touch of honey instead of sodas or sweetened coffees. Remember, your body doesn't need added sugars to function, quite the opposite. Every time you choose to skip that sugary treat, you're choosing better joint health and more pain-free movement. If you're still watching this video and finding these insights valuable, please comment number 2 below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any videos. Now, let's move forward. Food number 3, refined grains. The third joint-destroying food might surprise you, refined grains. I'm talking about white bread, white rice, regular pasta, and cereals made with refined flour. These foods are staples in most American kitchens, and they might be contributing significantly to your joint pain. What makes refined grains so problematic? When grains are refined, the bran and germ are removed, stripping away fiber, vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants. What's left is mostly simple carbohydrates that your body converts to sugar almost immediately after eating. This triggers the same inflammatory response we discussed with added sugars, a rapid rise in blood glucose followed by an insulin spike that promotes inflammation. Consider Ellen, a 70-year-old grandmother who loved baking bread for her family. She couldn't understand why, despite taking her prescribed medications, her hands were becoming increasingly painful and swollen. What she didn't realize was that her beloved white bread was contributing to her problem. My daughter suggested I try baking with whole grains instead, Ellen told me. I was skeptical, but after switching to whole wheat and reducing other refined grains, the constant aching in my finger joints actually started to improve. Now I can knead dough again without paying for it later with pain. For older adults, refined grains are particularly problematic because your metabolism naturally slows with age. Your body simply can't process these simple carbohydrates as efficiently as it once did. The result? More inflammation, more AGEs forming in your joints, and more pain with movement. What makes this especially challenging is how deeply ingrained, no pun intended, these foods are in our culture. The sandwich for lunch, pasta for dinner, cereal for breakfast, these meals center around refined grains that could be silently damaging your joints. Instead of refined grains, try these joint-friendly alternatives. 1. Whole grain breads with visible seeds and grains. 2. Brown rice or quinoa instead of white rice. 3. Cauliflower rice or zucchini noodles as grain-free alternatives. Remember, your joints don't just need the absence of harmful foods, they thrive on nutrient-dense alternatives that provide the building blocks for repair and maintenance. Food number 4, processed meats. The fourth food quietly harming your joints is processed meats, bacon, sausage, hot dogs, deli meats, and smoked products. These convenient protein sources might be making your morning stiffness and joint pain significantly worse. Processed meats contain several compounds that can trigger joint inflammation. They're high in advanced glycation end products, AGEs, those harmful molecules we discussed earlier that damage collagen. They also contain nitrites and nitrates, preservatives that can increase oxidative stress in your body, further damaging joint tissues. Take Frank, a 75-year-old who loved his daily sandwich with deli turkey and his weekend bacon and eggs. Despite being reasonably active, his knees had become so painful that he'd given up his morning walks. His doctor suggested medication, but Frank wanted to try dietary changes first. "I was surprised when I learned about processed meats and joint pain," Frank said. "I didn't want to believe it, but I decided to cut them out for a month. The difference was noticeable, not a miracle, but enough improvement that I could walk around the block again without reaching for pain relievers." What makes processed meats particularly harmful for older adults is that your body's ability to counteract inflammatory compounds diminishes with age. The same sandwich you could eat in your 40s without issues might be triggering significant inflammation in your 60s or 70s. Studies have confirmed this connection. Research published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition found that regular consumption of processed meats was associated with higher levels of inflammatory markers and increased reports of joint pain among older adults. The convenience of these foods makes them hard to give up. They're quick, tasty, and don't require much preparation. But if you're struggling with joint pain, they're a sacrifice worth making. Instead of processed meats, try 1. Fresh, lean proteins like chicken, turkey, or fish. 2. Plant-based proteins like lentils or chickpeas. 3. Eggs, not processed, as a quick, nutritious protein source. Remember, what you eat today affects how your joints feel tomorrow. Making the switch from processed meats to fresh alternatives could mean waking up with less stiffness and enjoying more pain-free movement throughout your day. If you're still watching this video and finding these insights valuable, please comment number 4 below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support helps us continue creating good content to inform and inspire you. Now, let's move forward. Food number 5. Nightshade vegetables. The fifth joint destroyer might come as a surprise: nightshade vegetables. This includes tomatoes, potatoes, eggplants, and all types of peppers. Now, I need to be clear, these foods are nutritious for many people, but for a significant percentage of adults over 65, they can trigger joint pain and inflammation. Nightshades contain compounds called alkaloids, particularly solanine, which can affect the way calcium is metabolized in the body. For some people, these alkaloids irritate the digestive tract and trigger an immune response that increases inflammation, particularly in the joints. Consider Patricia, a 67-year-old with rheumatoid arthritis who loved gardening and cooking with her homegrown tomatoes. "I couldn't understand why my symptoms would flare up seasonally, especially in summer when I was eating fresh from my garden," she explained. "When my nutritionist suggested eliminating nightshades, I was skeptical, but after removing them for 3 weeks, the constant burning in my wrists and fingers significantly decreased." What makes nightshades tricky is that they affect some people dramatically while others can eat them without issues. This is why they're often overlooked as a source of joint pain, but research suggests that approximately 20 to 30% of people with inflammatory joint conditions notice improvement when they eliminate nightshades. For older adults, this sensitivity can develop or worsen with age. As your digestive system and immune responses change, a food that never bothered you before might suddenly become problematic as you enter your 60s and 70s. The challenge with nightshades is they're everywhere in the American diet, from French fries to pizza sauce, from salsa to mashed potatoes. They're also nutritious in many ways, so removing them requires finding other sources of those nutrients. If you suspect nightshades might be affecting your joints, try these alternatives. 1. Sweet potatoes instead of white potatoes. 2. Carrots, squash, and cucumbers in place of nightshade vegetables. 3. Pesto or olive oil-based sauces instead of tomato sauces. Remember, not everyone needs to eliminate nightshades completely. You might consider a 3-week elimination period, followed by carefully reintroducing them one at a time to see how your body responds. Pay close attention to how your joints feel the morning after eating them. Food number 6, alcohol. The sixth food, or rather, beverage, silently damaging your joints is alcohol. Whether it's wine with dinner, beer while watching the game, or a cocktail with friends, alcohol can have a significant impact on your joint health, especially after 65. Alcohol affects your joints in multiple ways. First, it's dehydrating, and proper hydration is essential for healthy joints and cartilage. Second, alcohol disrupts your sleep quality, and poor sleep is linked to increased inflammation and pain perception. Third, many alcoholic beverages contain compounds that can trigger inflammatory responses in certain individuals. Consider James, a 71-year-old who enjoyed his nightly glass of whiskey. "I never drank excessively, just 1 or 2 drinks in the evening to relax," he explained. "But my hip pain was getting worse despite medications and therapy. My doctor suggested cutting out alcohol completely for a month. I was surprised when my morning stiffness decreased significantly. I still enjoy a drink occasionally, but now I know it comes with a cost to my joints." What makes alcohol particularly problematic for older adults is that your body metabolizes it differently as you age. Your liver becomes less efficient, meaning alcohol stays in your system longer, potentially causing more inflammation. Additionally, alcohol can interact with medications commonly taken by older adults, including those for joint pain. Wine, especially red wine, presents an interesting paradox. While it contains some anti-inflammatory compounds like resveratrol, the alcohol itself is inflammatory. For some people, the negative effects outweigh the potential benefits. Beer can be particularly problematic for joints because it often contains gluten and purines, which can increase uric acid levels and potentially worsen conditions like gout or arthritis in susceptible individuals. If you enjoy alcoholic beverages but are struggling with joint pain, consider these alternatives. 1. Sparkling water with lime, mint, or berries for a refreshing non-alcoholic option. 2. Herbal teas, either hot or iced, for relaxation without inflammation. 3. Kombucha, low-sugar varieties, for a complex flavor that some find satisfies the desire for an alcoholic beverage. Remember, you don't necessarily need to eliminate alcohol completely, though many people with joint issues find that even occasional drinking affects how they feel. Pay attention to your body's response, and consider whether that drink is worth the potential increase in pain or stiffness the next day. If you're still watching this video and finding these insights valuable, please comment number 6 below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support helps us continue creating good content to inform and inspire you. Now, let's move forward. Food number 7, dairy products. The seventh and perhaps most surprising food that could be destroying your joints is dairy. Yes, the milk, cheese, and yogurt that you've been told all your life are good for your bones might actually be harming your joints, especially after 65. This may seem counterintuitive. After all, dairy contains calcium and protein, nutrients important for bone health. But for many older adults, dairy can trigger inflammation that affects the joints in several ways. Dairy contains a type of protein called casein that can be difficult for some people to digest. When not properly broken down, these proteins can trigger an immune response that increases inflammation throughout the body, including in your joints. Additionally, many dairy products, particularly cheese, contain saturated fats that can also promote inflammation when consumed regularly. Take Margaret, a 69-year-old who had always included plenty of dairy in her diet for strong bones. She couldn't understand why, despite following this advice, her fingers and knees were becoming increasingly painful and swollen. "My nutritionist suggested I try eliminating dairy for 3 weeks, Margaret explained. "I was resistant. I'd been drinking milk all my life. But the change in how my joints felt was remarkable. The swelling in my fingers decreased enough that I could wear my rings again, and climbing stairs became noticeably easier." What makes dairy particularly complicated for older adults is that your digestive system changes with age. Even if you've tolerated dairy well throughout your life, you might develop sensitivities in your 60s or 70s that weren't present before. Additionally, the commercial dairy available today is quite different from what previous generations consumed, with different breeding practices and processing methods. The good news is that eliminating or reducing dairy doesn't mean you'll miss out on calcium or protein. There are many excellent alternatives. 1. Plant-based milks fortified with calcium and vitamin D, almond, oat, or cashew milk. 2. Leafy greens like kale, collards, and bok choy for calcium. 3. Sardines with bones or calcium-set tofu for non-dairy calcium sources. Remember, not everyone needs to eliminate dairy completely. Some people find that reducing quantities, choosing grass-fed sources, or opting for fermented dairy like kefir or certain yogurts causes less inflammation. As with all dietary changes, pay close attention to how your body responds. Now that you know the 7 foods that could be silently damaging your joints, you might be wondering, what's left to eat? Don't worry, this isn't about deprivation. It's about making informed choices that support your mobility, independence, and quality of life. Think about John, an active 78-year-old who had been struggling with progressive joint pain for years. I was at the point where my doctor was recommending joint replacement surgery. He told me, but I decided to try eliminating these inflammatory foods first. Within 3 months, my pain had decreased so significantly that surgery was no longer necessary. I wish I'd known about these food connections years ago. John's experience isn't unusual. While not everyone will see such dramatic results, most people who eliminate inflammatory foods notice some improvement in how their joints feel and function. And the sooner you make these changes, the better your results are likely to be. Remember, your joints are constantly being rebuilt throughout your life. The food choices you make today literally become the building materials your body uses to repair and maintain your joints tomorrow. When you eliminate inflammatory foods and replace them with nutrient-dense alternatives, you're giving your body the tools it needs to heal and strengthen. Here's my challenge to you: choose just one of the 7 inflammatory foods we've discussed today and commit to eliminating it for 3 weeks. Keep a simple journal noting how your joints feel each morning. Are they stiff? Painful? How long does it take for them to warm up? After 3 weeks, assess whether you notice any difference. If you do, consider eliminating another inflammatory food for 3 weeks while continuing to avoid the first one. This gradual approach makes dietary changes more sustainable and helps you clearly identify which foods are affecting your specific body. Remember that you are unique. While these 7 foods are common culprits, your individual response may vary. Listen to your body and let it guide you toward the diet that works best for your joints. Thank you for joining us today. We'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment below and share one thing you learned today and how you plan to use it in your life. Your thoughts are important to us, so don't hesitate to share them. Reading your comments gives us great motivation and encouragement. If you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, please like, subscribe, and share. Your support helps us continue creating good content to inform and inspire you. Thanks for watching, and we look forward to seeing you in the next video.